I, as a general consumer, know the difference between the two. Well, it's very, very easy. This is USDA prime. It's a great piece of meat.
Okay.
It has a little bit of marbling through the center. It's very flavorful. This is what Wagyu looks like. This is Australian M9 Wagyu. Look at the marbling on that.
Okay.
All the way through. So this you will not see in a USDA prime. And then we go to Japan, and they've elevated to an art form. And so look at the marbling on that. So if you ever see something like that, you know that's Japanese.
Okay.
This is Australian,
Australia.
and this is USDA prime, which is not even a Wagyu breed. But that's to show you the difference between the two.
Okay.
And this is a lot. The difference between this and this is diet, how the Japanese feed and raise their cattle, and the difference between this and this is Angus and this is Wagyu. In Australia, it's about 90%. The breed is 90% Wagyu and 10% Angus, whereas in Japan, it's 100% Wagyu.
Okay.
And in the United States, their Angus, their Wagyu breeds are 50-50 roughly. And then the Japanese basically outlawed exporting any kind of Wagyu stock whatsoever back in I believe the early 90s or the late 80s.
Okay. So my last question: Wagyu is a Japanese name, right? So we believe that Wagyu is the beef from Japan. So
It's actually the breed.
the breed.
It's actually
So
Wagyu
they-
means cow in Japanese.
So they bring the breed to Australia, to US, and they breed it there, and right.
But they did that in the 80s. So the Australians were the first, and they brought breeds, the male and the female cows, and then the Americans did it, but they only brought the one sex, and they had to crossbreed it with other cattle, and so they crossbred it with Angus. And then the Japanese government outlawed any kind of exporting of the actual cows or the semen or the ovaries or whatever it is that they do. And so now, whatever's in Australia is in Australia, and whatever's in the U.S. is in the U.S. And it's never going to get any better, as far as I know, unless somebody smuggles a cow or two from.
Okay. So we don't have a Canadian Wagyu.
We do actually have Canadian Wagyu as well,
Yeah.
but it's under the same kind of crossbreeding program. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The challenge with Canadian Wagyu, it's very small production, and so it's difficult for us to get a regular supply, to be perfectly honest. Whereas it's much bigger production in obviously Australia and in the United States.
Okay, so like this is my last question. As a restaurant owner before, maybe you're a chef. Is this kind of like high-end like beef food? How we cook it to the best taste?
So when it comes to cooking something like this, you don't want to put it on the barbecue because it's like putting a piece of butter on the barbecue. It'll just drip through, catch on fire. So with this particular cut, you would stick it on a nice hot pan, a cast iron pan. You would even take the end piece where there's the fat, and you would just use that and oil the pan.
Yes, okay.
You could put a little bit of salt and pepper, not a ton because it's very flavorful, and then just stick it on the pan. In this case, this is about 3/4 of an inch thick. You could cook it for 2.5 to 3 minutes each side, and it'll be wonderful. When it comes to these steaks, you can do on the grill. With this, once again, salt and pepper. With this case, I would put it on the grill probably for a medium rare at about 4 or 5.5 minutes per side, and then take it off the grill and you let it rest. Let it sit for 10 minutes. That way all the juices get back into the flesh versus bubbling out to the top when you're cooking them. And that is a very simple way to cook your steaks. And leave the lid up. If you put the lid down, then you created an oven, and it's going to cook from the top and the bottom at the same time.
Okay, so good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.